early for once.
Yeah, that was nice of you to show up on time.
I'm not accustomed to just seeing a dark void. Usually it's you sitting there just tapping your fingers, or maybe you've gone off to get something to drink.
Well, I did. I was actually watching Digital Foundry's video on the upcoming Steam thingamabob.
It should be called the Steam Valve. If they really want to rip off the Switch. Get it? Like Steam Valve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retro Fandango, episode 185. I'm Buried on Mars, here with Ramvox. Let's get to the stupid house cleaning. Cartridge Club is playing Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii, which if they would have waited till December, they'd be able to play it on a handheld computer thing that Steam's putting out.
You can play Nintendo games on that thing?
So on that thing, you can put Windows 10 on there. Oh, so you could put any emulator you want on there.
Oh my
RF Gen is playing Sky Blazer for the Super Nintendo, and the Beat the Bandy / Beat the Duke challenge this month is turned out to be Tetris for the NES.
Yes.
Which you remember, you may recall J-Rock the Game Rocker was supposed to be the Tetris guru, but...
Right. Don't see him around, though.
No.
Somebody's got to get him on board for this. I'm curious. I really wish... This is one of those games where I wish that the Beat the Bandy had a little podcast element to it, because I'm very curious about Tetris strategy. I've employed the same strategy since I was a kid, which is panic. And just like as those blocks come down, oh my goodness, the pressure is overwhelming. I've been playing along. I've been doing my best with this one, and it's certainly not good enough to compete with those that are in the front there. But Matt's wife, I believe, is the current top of the list.
Oh, really? Not Duke?
No. Well, Matt started strong, and I think that we were saying I was a week late. I wonder what the game is. I'm pretty sure he's just, farming points that first week. Trying to get a really nice top score, so he could just say, "Oh, by the way, here's the new game, and look, top score for me," and it's something really impressive.
Yeah.
And then Duke comes in and he slowly builds up towards it and passes it. But Matt's wife seems to be the guru.
Well, I didn't tell you what my strategy was for last month's game, Rad Racer. But
Game Genie?
That was to wait until the very last day to put it in the Nintendo and hook it up to the TV and say, okay, I'm going to beat both their scores and post it right at the last minute. But I didn't get very far, so
no, that's the weird thing about this Beat the Bandy challenge is you actually have to get good at the game.
Yeah But I couldn't remember how good I actually was at the game, and it turned out to be not very good.
No.
So there we go.
Yeah, but I'm curious because I think most people play the same way. You start building everything on one side, and then you leave that one column so you can get those four, the straight line block, and then just get the 4 in a row.
Yeah, right.
Right, and that gives you the most amount of points.
Right.
But then inevitably you end up with a tower on one side while you're waiting for that 4 to come down. So I was wondering, at certain point, what's the best point to sacrifice that in order to just start killing lines? And then, I don't know, is it just luck? Is it just you get the good blocks in the right order?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of a rogue game in terms of that, because it is luck and it's totally random which pieces you get, but the strategy is in knowing what to do with the pieces that you do get. It's a brilliant game though, just from all the different pieces. There's only five or six different pieces you get,
a half dozen or whatever it is, but they're all made up of 4 blocks in some different pattern.
And they're perfect. If you added more blocks it like more different shapes. Like one more, it would just mess up the game. If there was one less, it would mess up the game. If there's one more line, it would mess up. It's just a perfect game, you know.
He got very lucky, and that was the first game he made, because there's a whole story about how he didn't get any money for that game for a long time.
Yeah.
But he's made a bunch of the other popular puzzle games that are out there over the years, but nothing has ever come close to Tetris.
No,
it's just,
it's one of those iconic games that's like, you know, it just transcends all different consoles, and
yeah,
you know, yeah.
And they don't really change it up, like you said. They don't add more pieces or things like that. It just visually it looks a little different.
I mean, there are some different versions out there, like the Tetris DS. There was different versions of the game within the game, but the core game was in there as well, that you could just play. That's what I always end up just going back to that core game all the time.
Yeah, I'm glad it doesn't get frustrating though. Like when I was playing along with the Kung Fu, I would start getting angry, like, I couldn't get this. But Tetris is kind of a calming game. Even if you screw up, it's like, it was still fun. You get in a zone.
Pretty much with Tetris, I just go until it gets too fast, and then I'm done. Yeah. But I do try to do the 4 thing, you know, to take care of 4 lines in a row.
That's the only way you get any real points.
Yeah.
Knocking them out 4 at a time.
Yep. Look at this. We got
Deej is
Derek.
Here. What's up, Derek?
Right on. Oh, hello. So, any other games you've been playing?
I did play a game. I wrote it down in the game section there. I played a game called Butcher.
Now, what is that?
It's very similar in style to Broforce and Hotline Miami. It's very super pixelated, little run and gun, shoot all the things, all the peoples, jump from platform to platform, and kill stuff. And it's got a very, I want to say it's also a touch of Doom, because it's very dark, lots of angry music, pretty violent, but super pixelated.
Yeah, this looks cool. 2016.
Yeah, you can get that on your Nintendo Switch if you had one.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you can get that on your Steam Switch.
I don't have one of those yet either.
It was a fun little game. Super hard though. In fact, that was the tagline of the game. It's like the easiest mode is hard or something like that. But that was in 2016, and since then they have released a version with a casual setting. I'm guessing because several people complained it was too hard, so they had to do one of those. And I tried it on the hard setting when I first set it up, and it is brutally hard. So I did switch it to the casual setting, and which makes it a bit too easy in some parts. But still, you'll die a few times still trying to get through it.
I hate it when games are like that. They're, you know, like there's no in between. It just seems to be like the game's super hard or it's super easy. There's no like middle of the road challenge.
It was a fun game to play through. You can play through it in a day if you're really motivated. It's only going to take you a couple hours at most. But it's neat. Good sound. Very nice sound with all the gun noises, sort of bang bang bangs.
Oh, I'm going to add it to my wish list.
Wish list. I got it for free on GOG a while back. Check your Galaxy.
Oh, maybe I already have it. If I have it, then for sure. Oh.
Hey, Sarah's here. Oh, Sarah.
Oh my goodness. Full house. Right on. Well, I played a game as well. It's a 2D game as well. And I think it's a game that you would like, that you're going to probably want to put on your wish list. So
I just wish listed a game right before we started.
Well, you might wish list another one. Which game did you wish list?
I was just peeking through Steam and I don't even remember the name because it was called The Takeover. It's basically a Streets of Rage clone, and it actually has music from Yuzo Koshiro, who did the music for Streets of Rage.
Did you ever play Streets of Rage 4? Did you ever get around to
No, that is on my wish list, but the sales they have are like, oh, 10% off, 20%. Nah, I need the big 80, 90% off. Then I'll jump in. I'm patient. I can wait 2 or 3 years for the good sale.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I'm not in the mood for it or whatever, but it's on Game Pass, and I've tried it a couple of times and just kind of didn't grab me very much. But maybe I'm just not in the mood for it,
I can see that. I mean, how many games you got in your library that you're like, I'm going to play this someday?
Yeah.
Someday.
Let's see.
That's why I played that Butcher game, because last time we talked, you were talking about some Doom clone kind of game that you were playing. It had the one level. And so I looked at that, and then I got into that vibe of, violent pixelated shooter. Like, oh, Butcher. Okay.
It doesn't look like I have it. I might have missed out.
I definitely got that as a freebie. Got to check your. I get frustrated sometimes. You get all those emails from GOG. It's like, oh, here's your exclusive discount. Here's your giveaway. Like, forget it. Once in a while, there's some gold in there.
Nope. I got under BU. I got budget cuts, Builders of Egypt prologue, and Bulletstorm. Oh, and Bunch of Heroes. In the bureau.
Bunch of Heroes.
That's it. No Butcher.
Rocket Sauce. I'm getting everybody now.
Oh, look at that. My goodness. People saying hello to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like they like being here. They didn't just get lost.
Okay, so the game I played, I think you would really dig this game. It's called, I'm not sure how to say it. Carrion.
Carrion.
Carrion. Okay.
Carrion is dead animals that like vultures eat.
Well, that kind of makes sense, I guess. So the game starts off you're this little monster thing inside of a science, like some sort of military lab experiment base, like you're deep underground, and you play through the entire game as the monster, not the guys who are trying to kill the monster. And as you go through the game, it's sort of a Metroidvania thing where you are picking up, you break into like these vials, and it gives you upgrades. Like you can bust like your doors, and you can fit through different things, and you grow bigger and bigger as you go through. Like as you pick up more and more of these things, and like there's guys with machine guns, and they'll like take down your energy if you get hit, and to replenish your energy, you have to like eat people.
Yeah.
To build yourself back up. And
I'm watching the trailer now. It's pretty neat.
It's crazy because like you'll just be going through and it's like, man, I need some energy. So you'll kill like 5 guys and there'll be just blood everywhere on the screen. It's good times. But
this, I've never played it, but I want to say it kind of is similar to that Ooze game on the Genesis.
Yeah.
You play like a puddle.
Yeah. Or that Mutant Blob game 2, like where you take it. But with this one, it's a little bit Metroidvania where you can go through and pick up those different pieces and access different areas and that. But the main part of the game is linear, which was nice because I find in a lot of Metroidvania games, I just get lost after a while, right? It's like, where do I go again? How do I find the way? And you're looking through a walkthrough to find it. This game, everything kind of felt streamlined, like you always knew where to go. And the only part, like when I went back through the levels, was just to get extra things, to help finish the game. Even though I already played through and finished the game, I just went back to get all the extra things for basically just for the achievements. But it was a lot of fun, and it wasn't a very long game. It was about 6 to 8 hours. Mm-hmm. And it was cool. It's just cool breaking into things, and that the puzzles were like, there's like 3 different stages to the monster as you grow, and then you'll get to a part where your monster will be too big to get. Like it had like different level, like different abilities that were locked into the size of your monster. So there'll be like a switch through the wall. Well, your monster's too big and you need the ability to throw something. So you got to you can find like a puddle and you can shed off like some of your mass. I guess it's like called the biomass, and you can shed that off. Then you can be a little guy, and then you can spit things to hit the switch. Then you can go back in the puddle, put yourself back together, and then go through. And then there's like lasers. Like at one point, you get the ability to reflect light, so you're kind of a little bit invisible. And you can get through like these laser traps, but you have to shed yourself, down small, so you can get that ability to do it. So it was pretty cool. It was cool, like just puzzles that weren't too difficult. They were just, they were logical kind of thing. You just had to think about them a little bit. And then just killing dudes was fun. And then the dudes with flamethrowers, man, they were a pain in the ass. Like they were super OP. You had to really use some strategy. Like you had to sneak up on them because at the beginning of the level or at the beginning of the game, it's just all these scientists in like these biohazard suits, and they're just fodder for you, right? You're just like killing everybody, like
it looked like there were some scientists just flying around in there.
Yeah, and then you get to some guys who are carrying handguns. They're a little more tricky. And then you run into the military guys who have these shields and a machine gun. So if they see you, they'll start shooting. And if you try to attack them, they'll put up a shield, and it shocks you, and you can't get around it. So they, all the guys get more and more tough as you go through, but there's robots and that to like droids you gotta pick up and thrash around to break them and stuff. But it was just fun playing as the monster. It felt like you were the alien, like the xenomorph in the Aliens or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's good times. I know it's 2D, so nice pixelated graphics and that. It was fun.
Oh, 2D is wonderful.
Yeah. So it's the kind of game that I think would be perfect to play on the new Steam Deck.
Are you excited for this?
I don't know if I'm excited.
Interested.
I am interested enough to want to keep an eye on it. I like the channel Digital Foundry on YouTube. They're they'll break down a console and that, and I know they're going to get an early version of the console that they'll be able to test and push to the limits and actually give you the dirt on how well it performs in that. Mm-hmm. I'm not interested in it for AAA games. If you think about it, like that sucker's going to be able to play like Grand Theft Auto 5 and be able to have Grand Theft Auto 5 in your hands, or Horizon Zero Dawn, which is kind of neat, but I know from experience, I don't like playing those kind of games in handheld form because you want to be like in the world kind of thing. You want that big screen and zooming around and that. And I'm not into that handheld stuff. I like it for, more of the smaller indie 2D kind of games. I think that suits more of a, that style. But a lot of it's going to depend on how it performs. I was looking at Digital Foundry, and they were just analyzing the specs that Steam had given them, not necessarily the machine itself, but it sounds like it's going to be comparable to the Xbox Series S, which is like the smaller version of the new Xbox. Like it's like the 10 gigs of RAM kind of thing. So it's like base model kind of next gen. It's like a base model new console.
Right.
As far as I know, it's only going to play the games at 720p, which on a small screen doesn't really matter that much. Like you don't really, to me, I don't really notice.
Especially if you're playing if you're playing games with like very simple graphics, it's not putting limits here. So. I don't know. When I was a kid and the Game Boy came out, I thought that was the coolest thing ever because, then you didn't have to sit in the middle of the room. You can go off on your own, sit in the corner, be alone, and, play a game that way. And I tried handhelds with the Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. But over the years, I just found like, handheld gaming seems like a little kid thing. Just, I'm an adult. I can sit there in front of the big screen and play. Yeah. And I get it, especially if you commute, you're moving from place to place. You get to play at work, or some people just really like. I think it was Derek who mentioned on Twitter, like, hey, you could just like lay on the couch and play the thing, and it sounds cool.
Well,
Personally,
it's good.
I always prefer like the regular screen to one of these little handhelds.
Well, dads with small kids, it's perfect for
Yeah,
them, right? Because the kids, yeah.
I can understand the appeal for different situations. I just don't normally find myself in those situations.
Yeah.
So for those who do, what is it like? $300 or something?
Oh, I think it's more than that. I think there's 3 different versions of it. I was just looking at the prices. Yeah, $400. Now this is American prices, so they're at least $100 in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
$400 for the 64 gig version. $529 for the 256 gig version, and $649 for the 512 gig version.
Okay. Wait. But aren't you streaming these things from your?
No, as far as I know, it powers the games itself. Like they were talking about, like I was watching on Digital Foundry, and they're talking about like the hardware for the Xbox Series S is in essence in this little handheld. It's got this chip in it that can just do these wonderful things, and it's got a little vent on the back to keep it cool. And yeah, like Derek says here, it does both. Actually, you can do both with it.
Okay.
Like they were saying, you could put Windows 10 on the thing and basically do whatever you want to do on Windows 10 on it, because it comes with Steam OS, which is a form of Linux, which really limits your library because I don't think every game on there works with Linux. But if you put Windows 10 on there, man, you can do whatever you do on Windows 10. It's funny too because there was about 2 months ago, I can't remember which developer it was that was complaining about, they had some PC game out and they were complaining about, like people were asking like, when are you going to put it on Steam? We want it on Steam. And their big thing was they wanted to put it on Steam, but Steam has this rule now that any game you put on there has to have controller support. And they were just, for whatever reason, unable, I can't remember what it was, but there was some reason they had where they were not able to get the game compatible with a controller. And now seeing this, it makes sense why Steam's very adamant that all of their new games have controller support, because basically
that's true. What are you going to do with all your mouse and keyboard games with this thing? I'm sure they're going to have some sort of attachment if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, like there is a dock,
mouse and all that.
like the Switch has. There is a dock that you can get, and you can dock your keyboard and mouse. You can use a monitor, the whole thing. You can set it up like a regular PC if you want. But there are touch pads on it that's supposed to get you around the mouse thing. So, but yeah, Derek says it'll have some issues.
Oh, naturally. Whenever a new console comes out, you got to wait for the second or third batch for them to get all the bugs out.
Well, not only that, the biggest thing with handheld gaming that I just find so convenient, and it's even hard to go back to the older handheld consoles that didn't have this, is I think it started with the Game Boy Advance, where you would close it and it would pause your game. You know, like you could just be out and about and like, oh, my friend's here, close it, and you can get back to the game later. Where I don't know if that functionality will be there with this. Like, I don't know if there's...
It's gotta be. I mean, handheld games have progressed so much since the old days where it was like you got to start from the beginning every single time you turn it on.
Yeah, no, but I think that with a game like that, it has to be baked into the game itself. I think I can't think it's just a function of the system that will let you do that. Maybe it will. I don't know. I'm not a computer coding
scientist.
Genius. Believe it. I'm not a computer scientist. But yeah, like that's going to be like if it could keep it paused in the background, like you can just pause it and come back to it.
You just wait. They're gonna announce the next little bit of information on it. It's got a pause button. It's a big selling point.
like right now the Xbox has that quick resume thing, which works really well when it works, but it doesn't work for every game because not every game has that functionality baked into it. So like you'll come back to the game and there'll be no audio or whatever. So you have to reset, you have to close the game and open it back up, which kind of defeats the purpose of quick resume, so.
I'll tell you what this is. This is people at Valve were listening in 2 weeks ago when we did our recording, and you announced that Duke got a Switch of his own, and everybody in the house had one.
Yeah, there you
they
go.
Were like, damn it, the prophecy is true. We got to get in on this.
Well, let me tell you, when the thing was announced, Sarah and I were looking at each other and we're like, well, would this be good? And we weren't talking about getting one. We were talking about getting one each, So
yeah, that's true enough. Couch co-op, you're just sitting there staring at your own private screens and everything.
Yeah. Well, Sarah plays a lot of those hidden object games, and she tried on the DS because a lot of the games got ported over to the DS, and they were always crummy ports. She's like, finally, I could play these games on a handheld thing, but I don't know how well they're going to work on there because, the screens, like a lot of those games are designed for you to be sitting at a desk looking at the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you take that screen, you scrunch it down to a small little window.
They might have a zoom feature.
Maybe.
Steven's got a good point. When you can get one.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the other thing too with Steam, Valve. Really, they get all behind these products or whatever, and then they just kind of launch them out there and just like, well, let's see what the market decides.
Well, that was a few years back. What was it? All the Steam Link box. What was it called?
So there was Steam Link. And they kind of just like, drop that. They were selling them for like $5 by the end of it. And then there was Steam. Yeah, the Steam boxes, which they weren't really manufacturing. They were relying on other people to manufacture.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So at least I think with this one, it's theirs. Like they're trying to sell it. But they're very, like they make so much money just selling games through the PC. Like they're very laissez-faire once the product's out there. Like they don't seem to really care on if it does well or not. It's almost like as if they're, like how every company has like R&D, right? Research and development, and they just need to keep those guys employed. So like, let's just keep them busy. Let's give them, Nintendo's got a handheld thing. See what you could do with that. If it works, fine. If not, we're making so much dough off of selling copies of Minecraft on our OS, like who cares?
I mean, that's the most 100% accurate thing is Nintendo's making money off it. That's where this all came from. It's just might as well make a handheld. Nintendo seems to be going that way. We gotta stay competitive.
Now I'll tell you the difference between, for me personally, the difference between this and Nintendo. When I had the Nintendo system, there's still no games for me. There's nothing there. I got my PC where I play all my indie games, so they're totally useless over there. And then all the games that they put out are the Wii games, the Wii U games, which I already have. They just keep putting out ports of Wii U games. I mean, for the Switch, there was Mario Galaxy. No, not Mario Odyssey, and that was it. That was the game I played on there. That was it. There was nothing else. There's still nothing on it. So with this, you got all your Steam library. You get it on day one, and you can just open up your Steam library, and all your games are in there. So,
how big is the screen? Is it bigger than a Switch screen?
The whole thing is 6 centimeters bigger than a Switch. They actually had a video or an image on that video I was watching. I didn't actually look at the screen, just the system itself was 6 centimeters bigger. So I'm not sure, but apparently, like it only, like we said, it only displays them at 720p. Let's see. I don't know. It looks bigger. It looks like a big, clunky system, anyways.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really look at it too long, but it's got the little buttons on the side, but it kind of looked like some people were resting it on their knee
Yep.
Is this kind of the game that you can hold up in the air for a long time if it's
Yeah.
that large?
I
Because
picked
even
that up too.
the Game Gear, boy, that was a beast when you had all the batteries in it.
Yeah, the weight. Like the weight's going to be an issue, right? Yeah, here it is. I got it. I got him. One guy's leaning it up against the back seat of a car. I'm trying to see the image of it compared to the Switch. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see if I can share my second screen here. There you go.
All right,
So there's, I don't know, is that the bevel? Looks like it, right? So it seems to be about the same
screen
size.
itself is maybe a little bit bigger, and yeah, it's just got a lot of meat on the sides.
Yeah, but see, these those are your touchpads there that are supposed to get you around the mouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I suppose.
And then when they come out with the Steam Deck Plus. Well,
I've never played a Switch, but it looks like all the buttons on these things are just getting higher and higher. I'm accustomed to my thumbs being kind of below or middle of the screen. I just can't picture how this would feel.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The Switch kind of felt uncomfortable to me, and that's why I played it docked. Like when I played that Mario game, I played it docked, and this looks even more uncomfortable.
Well, like anything else, they'll sell it. If it makes enough money, they'll come out with a revamped version. Different grips or different layout of the buttons, whatever.
Yeah.
They'll make it the slim version.
Okay, so what's Derek saying? They say it will start selling in December, but the website was dead when reservations opened.
Well, yeah, it's selling now. People are getting theirs reserved, and then it's just going to be unavailable through December and January and February.
It's too much work to buy it's too much work to buy these days. Buy stuff these days, like
for Steven, yes. When you go shopping every
day, every day he's in there, he's buying stuff. My goodness, I thought you lived to buy stuff, Steven. Come on. Derek says the screen is bigger. It does look taller. I don't know. Yes, I needed someone to. No, I was able to look it up myself. This is an STC pod where they need everybody to look things up for them. And there you go. Looks like an Atari Lynx. Correct. 100%. It does look like an Atari Lynx. Have you ever played one of those?
No, I never. When I was at the height of my collecting phase, I did consider one. I saw it in a case. I was like, oh, I don't have that. I better get that. And then I was like, I'm not going to play that. And that might have been one of those moments of realization. I was like, I got to slow down on buying all this stuff.
Yeah. I've never played one, but I held one.
Ooh.
Yes. That was it.
This
is all right. Derek says, I thought the thinness of the Switch Joy-Cons made it uncomfortable. I hope the thickness of this will help. Derek likes a big, thick one.
Big beefy.
There you go. There you go. So that is the Steam Deck. When was that announced? Was that today or yesterday? I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, maybe 24 hours ago. I didn't know what it was.
It was funny because Sarah turned on her PC and went into Steam for something unrelated, and that thing popped up. And we're like, what? What's this? There you go.
Oh, that's strange. Yeah, I saw it all over Twitter and stuff, but then when I went to Steam this morning, I didn't see anything on that.
But they had it like right in, like you couldn't even get out of it. You couldn't get to your library.
It could be a region thing. They're just not.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It might be fun to play, the smaller indie games on it, but it is a lot of money just to play indie games that I can already play on.
Just to be able to, move away from your desk.
Here's the other thing too. I do have a gaming laptop, so that's another. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand the mobility for some people, but if I pretty much play games in my house. I have no desire to play games while I'm out and about. So for me, I wouldn't want to sacrifice the size of the screen and a nice comfy chair. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat, as they say.
Yeah. Of course, like the last couple of years, I haven't been going anywhere, and that's usually when those machines come in handy. When you're sitting at the hotel room, and you got 3 hours to kill before everybody else will be ready to go out to eat or whatever. So,
yeah. That's what YouTube is for. You just go mindlessly stare at stuff.
That's true. It's very true. But what I mostly watch on YouTube is Digital Foundry telling me what game system to buy. So. All right.
Well, I did watch some things.
Yeah.
And part of it's your fault.
I see this.
Last week, no, 2 weeks ago, you mentioned the Rush Hour movies, and I was like, yeah, I guess maybe they're not so bad. I probably haven't seen much of them, but I noticed they were on my Netflix. I was like, okay, challenge accepted. I'm going to see how far I can get through this trilogy, because my impression of it is that it's not really great. And I watched them all.
There you go.
Went straight through. The first one is legitimately an entertaining movie. It's not the best buddy cop movie. It's not the worst. But Jackie Chan sells it. Chris Tucker is not over the top yet in the first one. So it was good. The second one is your standard formulaic sequel where everything gets reversed. He went to the U.S. so he goes to Hong Kong. He said this line last time. Now he says this line. Line this time. And the story doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it was still fairly good fun, entertaining enough. At this point, Chris Tucker starts to get a little, they're letting him off the chain a little bit more. Too much improv, but some fun Jackie Chan stuff, and a couple of risque lines and things in the comedies. I like when who's there?
Mrs. Cuda.
Melissa. Hey, Melissa. But a couple of lines I was surprised to hear. This was the late 90s, early 2000s. I was like, okay, you can still get away with some of that. Made me stop and appreciate. It's like, all right, if you're going to do comedy, be a little risky. Third one was just lazy. It's still somewhat watchable. I complained about that Taxi Man being like a stupid thing. That was my favorite part of the movie. I wish the whole movie was about him.
He did have the better lines out of
it was something different because the buddy cop formula, the first film at like half to 2/3 of the movie is them not getting along and learning to work with each other, and that's a big part of the characters and the story. You go to the sequels and that's gone. It's just you have established characters, and now it can only survive on the strength of the story and the writing. Now, in this case, you had Jackie Chan stunts. That gives it a little extra heartbeat. But the third one, I was surprised. It was like 6 years after the second movie.
Yeah.
So they kind of left it, and then maybe just, hey, we can still make money off this. Chris Tucker's kind of fat now, but all right, we'll still work around it.
When I watched the movies 2 weeks ago, I read why there was a big 5-year gap.
Oh, please tell me.
I can't remember now. It was 2 weeks ago. I can't remember, but there was a reasoning. I don't know if it was scheduling or something like that, but there was some sort of reason.
The first sequel was strike while the iron's hot, get another one out there. And then there was a bit of a delay for the third one. And it just felt lazy. I forget what I was going to say now.
The jokes were very much the same. That like you picked up on that ending, like where it was just a callback to the first movie, and it just comes out of nowhere. Like, why?
You know what bothered me though? The movie doesn't even. This is how lazy it was. It doesn't even pay attention to its own history, because in the third one they've got the woman who was the little girl in the first movie, and now she's all grown up.
Yep.
The second movie takes place immediately after the first movie. Like they get on a plane and then they're on vacation in Hong Kong.
Mhm.
Then they establish that the third movie takes 3 years, not 6 years, 3 years after the second movie, which means that girl should be about 13 years old,
Yeah.
not a young adult.
Right.
And then,
It's like a soap opera.
One example of the lazy writing, and I'm sorry this stuff bothers me. Early on in the film, they're not getting along because of something that happened
Something
with
happened in New
Jackie's
York.
girlfriend.
Right.
And then they're on a plane and Chris Tucker says, "Oh, you know what? You're constipated. Hey, get me some X-Lax for this guy." And it's just like a throwaway line. At the end of the movie, they jump off the Eiffel Tower, and then Jackie Chan says, "Hey, I'm not constipated anymore."
Yeah.
They never established he actually was constipated. It was just a throwaway line. And if the joke is that he's not constipated and he pooped his pants, they just continue the scene. It's like if you're going to make these jokes, you got to. It's kind of the equivalent. I know we've beaten this horse. The bones are bleached upon the earth. But the ad-libbing in Ghostbusters 2016, it's the same as the writing in this. It's just, hey, this sounds good. Throw it in there.
Yep.
But there's
Say
no
it
thought
fast.
to it. Yeah. But I
Well,
still watched it.
Well, my biggest problem with that movie is that at least the first two used Jackie Chan and used his ability, well, that's what you go see them for, is to watch him do the stunts in that. And in the third one, they didn't use his stunts. It was all CG, green screen, really hokey.
Or they were stunts that most people could do, like sliding down a tube, or there were still some little bits here and there, but it seemed like they didn't take the time to put together a nice set piece.
Right. Again, it was that part was lazy because they just didn't put the effort in to have him do anything. And you could say, well, Jackie Chan was like 5 years older or whatever. The guy, just 3 years ago, I'm watching a movie where he's sliding down the side of that thing in Australia. What's that big
what did he slide in?
That thing in Australia, the Opera House. It's like an opera house.
The Opera House, the Sydney Opera House. Okay.
Yeah, the Sydney Opera House. He's sliding down the side of that thing. It's freaking crazy. So the guy still does stunts, and
Well, we complain about these things quite often, but to the studio's credit, it's a super safe bet. The name recognition on that film was still hot enough that they could put one together. By that point, they know they don't have a story. They know they don't have anything new to add. Just make money. Just get them in there.
Doesn't matter.
Cash paycheck.
Just go in.
Everybody's just cashing paychecks.
Yeah, that's unfortunate though, because you want to see the series progress instead of digress. But what it was at the beginning wasn't that great, anyways. Other than it was an original, original.
It wasn't so original. You cannot not compare Chris Tucker's character in this movie to Axel Foley from Beverly Hills Cop, because Eddie Murphy did it first, the wisecracking cop that uses humor and insane techniques to help himself get along with this case. Eddie Murphy has a better range. He knows when to turn it down and when to play a character straight. He goes over the top, but he comes back down. Chris Tucker is always up on 9, 10, 11. And they make him stupid. They make him really stupid, where a lot of the lines he's throwing out make no sense. You don't get any sign of intelligence. It's just silly for the sake of silly, but it's not a Leslie Nielsen movie. So it kind of falls out of its own place.
Yeah. I just meant originality and original characters. Like they came up with their own names. I mean, we're in
their own names.
Yeah, I mean, I seriously, like that's the state of Hollywood movies now. You have to applaud them when they come up with their own names, because they can't even do that now. Everything's a friggin' reboot or adapted from a comic book or whatever. They're bringing back Indiana Jones, for Christ's sakes. The guy is 85? Come on. It's time to start your own series. This generation deserves their own Indiana Jones. They don't need to see our Indiana Jones again. And all you parents oh, my kids love it. Yeah, that's because you keep bringing them to this crap, and they're just happy to be at the movies. They deserve their own stuff. At
You know
least
what?
Back to the Future is not touched, but everything else is just coming back, and it's like coming back like bad vomit, like
Yeah.
like when you burp, like you get that burp and a little bit of vomit comes back. That's what all of these movies are today. Just that in the back of your throat.
Hey, you know what? You know what? What's today? 17. We got like a week until the new He-Man cartoon comes out.
There you go. Everything, man. Everything's just coming back. It's so just done. Like, come on. Don't you feel like they deserve, like you just people of today deserve their own thing? They deserve original ideas. So the same
It
stuff.
is to the detriment of creative filmmakers out there that we keep rehashing all the same things that our generation loves. I mean, sure, it's kind of neat sometimes. You're like, hey, look at that. They're doing a new this. But at the same time, out of all the movies I've seen within the past, I don't know, 15, 20 years, how many of the great movies that you really remember are throwbacks and how many of them are original content? So we get all that throwback stuff, but it's like, yeah, I went to see it and it was all right.
Yeah.
Nothing has any lasting appeal.
No. And well, because it's all safe, right? Like if they come out with something new, it's got to be safe. They're not willing to take any sort of risk. Like you can't have a movie today with a bunch of preteens walking through caves swearing. Like you can't, like the Goonies or Stand By Me, or you won't get a triple A movie of that level with that kind of movie. You'll get them in the indie stuff, the stuff that's like direct to Netflix and stuff like that. They're still willing to do it there, but nothing that's triple A. Live action Aladdin, live action Beauty and Beast. Yeah, that's another thing too. And then Steven asks if we're excited about Space Jam 2. The funniest thing I heard about Space Jam 2, I saw Space Jam when it first came out. I don't know. And I don't even remember a damn thing about it other than Bill Murray being in it. But I was reading, I don't know, it was one tweet or Reddit thing that was sent to me. And the person was explaining how, like when they saw Space Jam as a kid, they thought, wow, this movie is terrible, but we're all liking it ironically. And he lived his entire, from a kid to now, thinking that everybody was liking Space Jam only ironically, just like he was. And then Space Jam 2 happened. And he's like, oh, no, people actually seriously like this movie.
I've never seen it.
I mean, I've seen it once. I remember Michael Jordan. I remember Bill Murray, like with the most phoned in,
You got to hang out with Michael Jordan for a couple months.
He just did not care. He was just like, sure, give me a paycheck and I'll talk to Bugs Bunny or whatever. I remember there was a rap scene or something. I might be thinking of a different movie, but there was like a scene where Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, and what's his name? You silly wabbit, or what's
Elmer
that guy?
Fudd?
Elmer Fudd. They're in like a movie theater and they get gum stuck to their shoes, or their feet, and they start like moving their feet, and it makes like this rapping sound, like the record scratching. And then they just started making that noise and doing a hip hop thing right there.
As you do. I love Looney Tunes, like classic Looney Tunes.
Oh, yeah.
The characters are great. The performances are great. I've never enjoyed any of the, hey, let's bring them back for something else. Let's revisit. After that initial run, it is like nobody knew how to do it. Nobody knew how to take those characters and make them work anymore.
Wow.
And
I'll just say the only exception was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I think they were executed well in that. And you still had Mel Blanc doing the voices.
Was he still around then?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I think that was one of the last things he did before he passed away.
I will admit Who Framed Roger Rabbit does it well, and they're kept to the sides, They never overstay their welcome as cameos,
Yep.
And I always thought that scene with Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse in the same shot together, that was great. It was like,
it was Sega and Nintendo.
It was like you got a crossover. You never thought you'd see that, and then it's like, hey, it was one and done. They didn't try to do anything else with it. I was just thinking about this yesterday because my kid was watching Skylanders. It's
Oh
like a
yeah,
TV show,
yeah.
and she watched a couple of other cartoons and stuff on the Netflix, and it's playing, and I'm thinking like it's going by so fast. Like the show is like there's constant motion, constant things. Everybody's talking a mile a minute. It's like there's no pause in that show. It just like keeps going, and like there has to be constant something.
Hmm.
And I was thinking about Looney Tunes. Like, remember when Bugs Bunny would just like slowly roll his eyes and look at the camera and then walk over? There were pauses, there were beats, there was pacing, and it was so funny, and it's still funny today.
Yeah,
And like all
timing for the
these things
jokes.
now, it's just like just say, and it's
That's the style now because and it's they're if you like slow it down, they're really not saying anything that funny or that clever.
no,
It's just that they're saying it so fast. You think,
it's
oh
just
wow,
distracting. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
keep it moving. Now, a good example of that, I just started watching the Oceans movies, the Oceans 11, Oceans 12. I had
Okay.
never seen them before. And I'm glad I watched the first one because now I finally understand what the title means. I never understood what that meant,
It
Oceans
was
11.
11 people that were breaking into a bank or something, right?
Yeah, and the main guy's name is Ocean. So they
Oh,
are Oceans 11. Like
oh,
that's his group. You've never seen them?
I've tried.
You've
I've
tried?
tried to watch because that guy from Red Letter Media, he loves those movies, right? And Mike, he loves those movies.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give them another shot, like maybe 2 years ago, whatever. And I tried to watch that first one. It's just there's something about them that just I don't care for.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first one. I thought it was fun. I just watched the second one yesterday, and the characters are there. The quips and the fun charm is there, but some of the magic was lost. I really enjoyed the first one. The second one is all right, and now I'm wondering what the third one's going to be about. One smart thing they did though in the first movie, it's all about George Clooney, like he's the main, and he's still the main like top build in the second one, but they focus the story a little bit more on a different character because kind of like he had his arc in the first one, and so
Mhm.
they kind of focus on a different character, which I think is works well for the story. Just because it would be like, oh, what's his next arc? You know, like what is he doing now? Makes more sense. Focus on somebody else.
And did they do an all female Ocean's 11, or
They
was that a
did.
fever dream I had? Yeah. What?
No, they did 11, 12, 13. And then recently they did Ocean's 8 with an all female character. And this is one of the reasons I've never watched these movies because it just seems stupid. Like I didn't understand what any of this was. Just some heist movie. But I thought it was well done. I'll watch the next one.
I don't know. There's something I don't. It's got Julia Roberts in it too, who I can't stand.
She's not in it much. She's not in them much. Although she does play, she comes around for a pretty big scene in the second one. What was I going to say? The other thing about those movies is they're people with access to lots of things and they have tons of money trying to steal more money. So it's whatever they think of immediately. It's like we have this thing that's like really difficult to get, and
Yeah.
it's just there right now, and it's all set up, and we've made like they don't have time to do all this stuff. If you break the movie down and think about it logically, it doesn't make any sense. Like this is completely unrealistic, but it moves fast. Like
So you're not thinking about it.
saying, you know,
Just keep
things are
going.
going. You don't think about it,
Right.
but I think it was done fun.
All right.
Well, maybe you'll like this one. I also watched the prequel movies.
Now, when you say prequels, are you baiting here or are you serious? You watch
Nope.
the Star
there's
Wars.
There's only one film series known as the prequels.
You watch the Star Wars prequels. So you watched the Jar Jar Binks one, the green screen one, and I have nothing. The one I watched it once in Russian.
Once in Russian? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I watched. What is it? Sith of the Jedi. What's the Sith one? Talk of the Sith. Back
Well,
of
see,
the
this
Sith.
is this is one of the problems. I don't like what they're advertising. When you think of Star Wars, you say Star Wars, or some people will say A New Hope. or you say The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, even the new ones, you say like The Force Awakens. But with
Okay.
the prequels, everyone says episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. So you forget the titles.
Yeah,
It was
I can't.
advertised.
What
The
was the
Phantom Menace,
Phantom
Attack of
Menace?
the Clones,
Right,
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. Oh wow, that might be my problem though. I just don't care.
You don't care.
No.
Well, I did watch all 3 of those movies.
Why? Why would you do that?
I'll explain.
Okay.
I've been buying those little the little Star Wars miniature guys that I was
Yeah.
using for a game, and I didn't remember who half of these characters were. These little robots, like, what is this? I don't remember this. Who's this bug guy? I don't know. Who's this? What does he do? So when I'm trying to figure out, like, do I want to use this character in the game? What are their powers? What did they do? Jango Fett, was he basically the same as Boba Fett? Like, what? So
Say goodbye to Melissa.
Bye, Melissa.
She heard prequels and now she's out of here.
So I was trying to figure it out. I was like, all right, let me watch the movies again so I can remember what these characters do and like what abilities they should have and things like that. So that's what I did. I watched them all. Now, the Phantom Menace I had seen. Oh boy, we're losing them all now. I'm sorry.
No, I think he's just saying. I think Derek is just saying goodbye to Melissa.
No, he's out. He's tapping.
Maybe.
Nobody can take it. I've seen the Phantom Menace a few times back when it came out. Attack of the Clones I watched once in the theater because I thought that movie was horrible. And Revenge of the Sith I had seen a couple of times. So I watched them all and I realized this time around, those movies 20 years later are still the same movies.
Yeah, they haven't
Exactly as
changed.
you remember them. No.
Yeah.
Well, they did change Yoda. They made him a CG Yoda. He was a puppet in the first one, but then in the Blu-ray release, I think they changed him to a CG Yoda
Really?
because it was
Why?
puppet CG, so they wanted him to match, and because George Lucas can't stop tinkering.
I've saw Phantom Menace twice in the theater because I went the one time and I was completely shell shocked and I thought, okay, that's it. It's got to be something wrung with me. There's nothing wrong with the movie. There's
You were
something wrong
just too
with me.
hyped up, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I put it too high. You know, I went in there thinking I was gonna, and I gotta lower my expectations. So I went in there with the bar low, and it still sucked.
Yep.
And then I saw Attack of the Clones twice in the theater. I went once, and I said, This is it. This is stupid. I'm out of here. And we were out with a bunch of friends, and they're like, okay, we want to go see a movie, and I'm like, dudes, I've seen this movie already, but you got to see the new Spider-Man. It is so good. You got to see Spider-Man. It's so good. They're like, no, we want to see Star Wars. I'm like, trust me. I've seen Spider-Man and I've seen Star Wars. Star Wars sucks. Spider-Man's good. Please. I want to watch it again. Let's go see. No, they're adamant. No, we want to see Star Wars. Fine. So I get outvoted and I'm sitting in the theater watching the stupid Star Wars, and while we're watching the movie, I find out that they've already seen it. I was so pissed. I'm like, are you guys serious right now? Oh yeah, we went on day one when it first came out. We saw it. We just want to watch it again. I'm like,
There you go.
my head exploded. And then I had when Revenge of the Sith came out, I just downloaded it off the internet right away because I wasn't giving Lucas any more money, and it had Russian subtitles throughout the whole thing. And I think people were walking across like it was one of those handy cam.
Oh wow!
I didn't care. I don't care. I just want to see what happens, and I saw what happens, and I'm so glad I didn't spend any money on that movie. So that's it. That's my prequel history.
There you go. I'm just excited that you referred to people as dudes. I want to see you throw
I say dudes.
Dude in your vocabulary.
Yeah, I say dudes. I say dudes.
Right.
That's from since South Park started saying dudes. It's been
and that's why we don't have friends.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm fine.
Who needs?
I haven't been to the theater with anyone but Sarah in. I think that was the last time I went to the theater with her. No, I did go with my parents. I did go with my parents once to see the Wonder Woman. That was it.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched them, and they're not great movies. I could tell you the worst parts of the movies, and I can tell you the best parts of the movies. And I can tell you that when watching it this time, maybe it's because I only saw it once before, I actually enjoyed watching Attack of the Clones more than the other two.
You're saying
Because it
Attack
was
of the Clones is the best out of all
I'm
three?
not saying it's the best. I'm saying that when I watched these three, I enjoyed watching that one more, probably because I forgot most of it. So there was like, oh, okay, I'm seeing things I forgot. And it almost got into a good vibe. Like there was a point where Obi-Wan's going out to check on Jango Fett and stuff and the clones.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, Obi-Wan's having an adventure on his own. He doesn't have a Qui-Gon Jinn spoiling the scenes. He doesn't have to deal with yelling at Anakin every 2 seconds.
Mhm.
It's just Obi-Wan doing stuff. And then he fights Jango Fett on a landing pad. And I was like, hey, this is almost Star Wars. There you go. So there's like you could see in every movie the potential. It's like, that's a good idea. Oh, don't do that. That's a good idea. Oh, don't do that. Oh, why did you write it like that? Why is this dialogue so terrible? They're not good movies. I'm not defending them. I did it for the research. But the best parts, the sound in the pod race is pretty good. Those engines chugging along, going across the screen.
Okay.
And there's a scene in Attack of the Clones where Jango Fett is chasing Obi-Wan in a space battle, and he drops these like depth charge things, and they go out and they're silent. They go out and then they explode in this big Praxis special effect.
Oh yeah,
with the ring.
Yep.
And it has this long bass note, just and it starts blowing up asteroids. That was really cool.
That's it. None
That's
of the
it.
characters.
No characters, no story, none of that. The sound that they used in those scenes, really, really good.
Yeah.
The worst parts in the movie, in first episode 1, Qui-Gon and Anakin jump on the ship, and he says, Obi-Wan Kenobi, this is Anakin Skywalker, and then they shake hands. And then they look at the camera and go, huh? And I didn't think this was still going to bother me, but in Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin's killing everybody at the end, and then he goes into the room with the kids, and they're like, Mr. Anakin, what are we going to do? And the lightsaber ignites. I felt sick. Like that, like, really? They did that in a Star Wars movie. I forgot how bad, how so out of place that was. I hate kids in movies, but come on. You don't have a Star Wars hero murder children.
He wrote himself into a corner. He had it perfect in the first 3 movies where Luke was like baseline. You don't go.
Well, you liked Luke,
but like Luke was like getting too old to train, right? Like which
is nonsense. That was a line that Yoda threw out as a test to see how badly do you want this. And then Lucas took that and turned it into, okay, this is a thing. Jedi have to be trained from the age of 2.
Yeah, see, this is what
even Anakin in the prequels, they say he's too old when he's like not 7 years old.
Right. And this is what I'm saying. Like, he wrote himself into a corner with that, because now he has to get rid of all the Jedi, and he wasn't like thinking ahead. Like, well, if you're going to get rid of all the Jedi, that means all the kids, because you keep saying that they're not old enough in all the like. He's too old. He's too old. He's too old. It's stupid.
Yeah, there's so much stupid in there.
Anyway,
what you do is you just all the things that are there. You just remember it the way you want to. You just blur the lines and think, hey, yeah, I do hate kids in movies, Steven, but they don't deserve to be murdered by a hero of the movie. You know, it's not so much about the kids; it's about what it says about the hero.
Yeah,
Anakin was never portrayed as a hero. He's just, oh, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. Do you remember in Phantom Menace when Anakin's doing his podcast thing? There's like a bunch of kids that come out.
Pod racing. You said podcast.
You got me. A bunch of kids come out and they're like, "Hey, Anakin, nice pod racer," and all this.
Yeah.
And one of them looks like a little Greedo, like he's got the
Yes.
Greedo race.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like Greedo.
Okay.
He doesn't look like Greedo.
Oh, he is Greedo?
He is Greedo. There was a deleted scene where Anakin's like punching him in the face. He's like on him and beating him up. And then someone says to him, "Hey, Greedo, you got to learn to hit first."
See, that is such fan fiction.
It's
crap.
so stupid.
That's
at least it was cut out. At least it was cut out.
At least he was smart enough to get rid of that.
No, this is podcasting.
Oh my god. Oh my god. All right. How many episodes have we mileage have we got out of bitching about Star Wars?
185 so far.
Yeah, every episode.
Star Wars and Ghostbusters 2016.
I almost titled this episode. I haven't been titling the episodes, but when I saw you put the prequels in here, I almost titled it Star Wars again. But I thought, Richard, you were being clever and you were going to come up with no, I watched some other prequels or something like that. So I changed it.
That's it. They're the only films known as the prequels.
Okay.
They don't bother me as much as The Last Jedi. I would rather watch the prequels than The Last Jedi.
So is The Last Jedi the middle one?
That's the Rian Johnson one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, look, I said this when the what are they? They're sequels, right? When the sequels came out, I said at least the prequels had some creativity to them. I'm not saying that they're great movies or anything like that, but when you have the look of the ships and the droid army and the clones, and at least there was some thought put into a guy with tons of lightsabers and stuff like that. At least it felt like there was some creativity in that sense of it. I'm not
in some yeah, I get it.
It's just in the look and like you were saying, the sounds and stuff like that. The pod racing. I mean, it's on paper, it sounds like a good thing. I think the execution was terrible in it. When you think of pod racing, having these pods and then zipping through the desert and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, that's it's like the speeder bike racing and Return of the Jedi. Let's do it in here. Now the execution wasn't there because they didn't have humans doing the thing. It was all aliens, which have all these different abilities and stuff like that. So yeah, they're zipping around at 526 kilometers an hour. But I don't know, maybe these aliens are able to do it. I don't know. It lost all of its sense of humanity in the characters,
Great
so
sound.
the execution wasn't there, but
great sound. That's all.
But the sequels don't have it either. None of it. It's just Star Wars should have just ended in 1983. The
prequels screwed up Anakin's story, but I didn't really know Anakin from the originals because he's Darth Vader at that point. But the Rian Johnson one screwed up Luke, and I love Luke Skywalker.
And Yoda again.
Yeah.
Like I said, it doesn't make any sense. Yoda was putting on a character for Luke. He was putting on a voice. He was putting on an act for Luke. And then when the gig was up, he said, "I can't train this guy," and he becomes Yoda. He's the Yoda that we all know. And then for some reason, that guy shows up in that movie. It's why is he doing this? Why is he pretending to be someone he's not again? It was supposed to be a trick.
Luke Skywalker may have the greatest character arc in any of my geek movie culture. You look at him from
it's a
original Star Wars to the end of Jedi and how he changed and how he progressed and everything, and then they just threw that out the window. And
it's a classic one. I don't know if it's great. I like Marty McFly's thing. Where
Marty
McFly could call him chicken and he would get angry.
No. That was tacked on in the second one. There was no plan for a trilogy. There was nothing about him being called a chicken in the first movie.
Right.
That was just tacked on.
No, but he had a thing where he would get angry and stuff like that, and they would challenge him to do stuff and all that.
Marty McFly is a fine character. I have nothing bad to say against Marty, but Luke Skywalker is Luke Skywalker. He's my hero. I never understood why people liked Han Solo more than Luke Skywalker.
Han Solo was just cool.
He's cool, but he's not the guy. Luke was the guy. Luke murdered so many millions of people on that Death Star. Han Solo didn't do that.
He did. Who did who made the shot in the? Oh yeah, no, he was on the planet. The Millennium Falcon killed a bunch, which is an extension of Han Solo.
Yeah, well, at that point it was Lando and his little co-pilot guy. They blew up the second Death Star.
I guess so. All right.
Anakin blew up the droid ship. He didn't kill anybody until all those children.
Until those kids. Until Lucas wrote himself into a corner.
He didn't murder enough people.
Uh,
So what did you watch? Bet you it can't be as good as what I watched.
Oh, we got a question here. Does Mandalorian carry the torch of the original movies, or is it more modern Star Wars?
That's up to you because I've never seen it.
Yeah, Richard's never seen it. I watched the first season and I really wasn't. It wasn't for me. Where really like I was watching it and I was like, okay, this is kind of okay, but whatever. I hate like the fact that they got. I could get into it, but let's just not because I want to move off of Star Wars. But really, like when it came, it just felt like it was a parody of itself. It was starting to like stuff from like when you got these two stormtroopers making all these funny jokes about whatever their boss and stuff like that. It felt like Robot Chicken instead of like real Star Wars. And I don't know. It's just not for me. It's not my thing. So I haven't watched the second season. Have they done a third season? Are they up to it yet? I don't know. Anyways, wasn't for me. Okay.
Hey, you want to change your pace? Look at this. I bought Caddyshack on Blu-ray.
Nice.
There you go.
That's a good movie.
Cleanse
Good
the
times.
palate.
Right.
Continue.
Don't watch Caddyshack 2 though. Keep Caddyshack pure. I have been watching.
I have never seen it. I don't know anything about it. All I know is I heard Dan Aykroyd on a interview once, and he said that he totally did it as a favor. Nobody wanted to do that movie. He got asked to do it by somebody. He was like, okay, fine, I'll do it.
He puts on the weirdest voice and none of it makes sense. It's not.
Dan Aykroyd also showed up in an episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, yeah, I think you mentioned that. Last time.
I hadn't seen it at that point.
Oh, okay. Well, then you didn't.
He does show up.
Maybe I read it. I don't know. I did watch, speaking of Dan Aykroyd, speaking of Caddyshack, how about that? I did watch the Three Amigos again. For the upteenth time.
Amigos.
It's been about 15 years or so. It's been quite a while since I watched it last.
That long?
It's been a long time.
Wow.
Time flies, man. I never had it. It was one of those movies that I had on VHS. I still have the VHS back, but I never got it on DVD because I watched it so many times that I just kind of needed a break from it. But we got it on Blu-ray. It was on sale, and I said, "What the hell? Let's get the Three Amigos." So watch that again. That movie holds up, man. I don't understand how that movie flopped. I think it's so funny. It's
Did
like
it really?
Yeah, and every scene, it's like I'm watching and it's like, oh man, this scene's funny. This scene's funny. There's no dull spots in it.
It's a fun movie. There are weak scenes. I do think the Steve Martin making bird calls on the wall.
That was so hilarious. I love it.
It's the whole
hilarious.
scene is unnecessary. It's just there for that joke. It's fine, but it's not as strong as some of the others.
No, I love that. I love that scene. I love everything Steve Martin does in that movie is great. The only criticism I could give it is that Chevy Chase's character seems to be a little wishy-washy. Like he's all in on the Three Amigos stuff sometimes, but then sometimes he's got to be like the sour guy. He's got he's not. So his character seems a little bit off at times, but like, is he dumb or is he smart enough to know that what he's like, he's self-aware of what's going on? You got to pick one or the other, but that's kind of the thing with Chevy Chase all the time. Even in Caddyshack, he seems to be like really smart and suave with the ladies, and then he's doing the slapstick stuff. So that's always been part of his thing. But anyways,
my favorite Chevy Chase moment in Three Amigos is when they're in the bar and they're trying to get him to go to the piano. Yeah. And he's like, oh no, but he's already got his drink. He's already making his way over.
It's great.
Just putting on the show.
that whole thing, that whole sequence is set up so great with the German coming in with the pistol that looks like Ned's pistol because he was such a Ned fan when he was growing up. So it's got that pearl handle, and then he shoots and kills the guys. And then when the Three Amigos come in because he says his friends are coming, they think that he's the friend, and they're all scared of him. And then when the real guys show up, hey, look at the two little sissies with their guns. Kills them. Ah, so good.
I probably watched that within the last year.
Mail plane. That's such a great joke. How can you tell it's a mail plane? It's got its little balls. And then they don't get it. It's just, I don't know. I don't get that. And then after I read Ebert's 1-star review of Three Amigos, and
wow.
I don't know what his problem was with that movie. Usually I could see his point of view. Like I could see like, okay, you're making sense there. But he was going on about how comedy should be done a certain way and how they did it wrong and all the Three Amigos. And I'm like, what are I'd not seen.
He is of a different generation. So the comments he had about movies then are kind of the comments we have about movies now. And we're saying, no, it should be done this way. Oh, that's not how you do it. Oh, this. I agree. Like, I would agree with Roger Ebert, like 80, 90%, not agree, but see his point 80, 90% of the time. And then he'd have a review where it's like, what are you talking about? Like, well, how can you defend Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
Dump on Spider-Man.
Well, I'm sorry. His Three Amigos one was like, what are you talking about? Because his thing was like that the jokes were not working. And I get the Chevy Chase thing, but the other two I thought were fantastic. And even Chevy Chase was fantastic in a bunch of scenes. It's just that in some scenes it was just kind of like they didn't pick a lane with that character. It wasn't consistent. But it's funny too. I watched because we got it on the Blu-ray, and there isn't too many extras on there, but there is a whole, like, they had a bunch of deleted scenes, and there's a whole thing in that movie between the Three Amigos and this character, this Madam something or something like that. She's like the rising star inside of the movie studio. That's kind of like her movies are starting to make more money than the Three Amigos, so they're kind of threatened by her. But she's played by Fran Drescher.
Oh, okay.
And she's totally cut out of the movie, out of the final product. But
when was Three Amigos? 86, 87, somewhere around
yeah,
there?
yeah. I think 86. Yeah.
So Fran Drescher, what was she doing? She did Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I think she was she a stand-up comic? Was she in like the comic?
I don't know, but she did a couple of movies here and there. And then, like, I didn't know who she was until The Nanny. And that was in the 90s, right?
It's like Kevin saying fast jokes are not funny. Hey, if you got a movie that's got a bunch of fast jokes in it, I'll watch it and tell you if it's funny or not.
No, it's all about the funny. You know what I tried watching? After I finished Rush Hour, there was like other comedy recommendations coming up. Anchorman, The Legend of Ron
Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
Boy, I didn't last 10 minutes of that movie.
See, Anchorman is one of those movies that grew on me. I watched it the first time. I really didn't get it. And then I was working at a satellite company, and it was one of the movies that was on the movie network all the time. Mm-hmm. And the guys that I was working with would put it on all the time. And you just start seeing the scenes over and over again. And it's like the Leslie Nielsen thing. It's like the movie's not very good, but you just remember all the good parts.
You get desensitized to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that sure enough, that's true. You watch anything enough times, you'll start to just accept it.
Yeah.
But I was watching it, and there were a couple of jokes up front that made me laugh. And I was like, hey, maybe I'm really going to like this movie. But then there was like a 3 or 4 minute block where it's just like everything is so dumb and so stupid. They're in a meeting where like they're all yelling at. I think the whole thing is that they're bringing on a female anchor, and everyone's upset and yelling about it. And then Steve Carell's character just starts like I don't know what we're yelling about, but he's yelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he just starts saying things that don't make any. It's like I'm done. I'm picturing the movie like as it's written. And like, why would you think any of this is funny? It's all just them giving their performances and thinking they're going to sell it with their charm. But no, I think you're absolutely right about Will Ferrell. There's very few things that he's in that I think are actually funny. He really comes across as annoying in most of his movies.
Like, to me, he's the best when he's a supporting character. Like when he comes into a movie and he's there for like 5 minutes and he just kills it and then he's gone. Mm-hmm. You know, like those Austin Powers movies. I love it when he's like comes in as that one guy that gets burnt up, and I that stuff's good. But a movie of like it's very hit or miss, and it's mostly miss than hits.
I was excited. I saw, Christina Applegate's in this. She did. I mean, this movie is almost like 15, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, she did movies for a while there, but no, this movie did not hook me.
Derek says he'll only watch Anchorman if someone would watch it with me and they want to know what he doesn't like. So, there you go. How about a couple of movies that I watched before we signed off?
Are they good, or can we complain more?
Okay, well, I did watch. Okay, we talked about Three Amigos. No, none of these movies are good.
Okay.
I watched Contagion, which is it's actually pretty good. It's an interesting movie because it is about a virus that springs across the world, right?
Yep.
And they made the movie in 2011, and it's kind of interesting to watch because all of the stuff that it's all part of our lexicon now, like social distancing and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's in that movie. So
I watched that like within a past year, and I remember talking about it.
Well, I'm glad I waited until now to watch it, because if I watched it a year ago, I'd be even more paranoid than I am now. Because where that movie goes, you're watching like, thank God we didn't go down that road or whatever. It was off on a few things here and there, like, you know, that didn't really come to happen. But there was a lot of things in there that were, you know, that they predicted that were dead on. Like they were talking about, you know, it was the virus originated from a bat, but it went into a pig. It was a bat that a pig ate.
I think the bats were like pooping in the pig cage or something, and there was some kind of cross contamination.
That's how it happened. That's how it happened, and that's how it got into the human food chain. I guess they couldn't predict that humans would actually eat a bat. But whatever. It was good. It was just interesting, but it kind of went off the rails.
It does. There are certain characters that. Was this based on a book or something? Because it feels like there's too many characters and there's not enough for each one to do.
Yeah.
The what's his name? British guy. Jude Law.
Yeah.
His character felt like it felt like there should be more with him, but then he just kind of like faded away, and I don't know.
That was interesting though, how in the movie, Jude Law is a blogger who kind of gets people worked up about conspiracies and stuff like that. And again, like in reality, it's Fox News, right? And they just thought it would be some fringe blogger who's just looking for sensationalized hits, and they couldn't predict that it would actually be I don't want to say a legit news network, but a legit network that pretends to be a news network. Yeah, those are the two movies I would put, Elf and Stranger Than Fiction from Derek.
Elf I really like. I've never seen Stranger Than Fiction.
Stranger Than Fiction's not a comedy. It's more of a serious
You've told
movie.
Me about. Is this the one where like he hears narration or something like that?
Yeah, and he doesn't know where it's coming from.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that movie. I think it's great. And then Elf is good. It's not my favorite Christmas movie. Wouldn't crack my top 5, but I think it's good.
Not the best, but it's solid. Well done. And
like I said, Anchorman grew on me. So. But those that like the ones that he does with John C. Reilly, like everybody loves those. I don't know. They just
does Anchorman, in your opinion, get better towards the middle and ends?
I haven't seen it.
Is it kind of the same?
I can't remember, to be honest. I haven't seen it in 15 years. You know, I'd have to watch it again.
the premise is funny to me, and there was like one shot early on where they're introducing the anchors, and then they just do one of those stage, like they're all standing around just posing for the camera shot. That was really nice. But then when Will Ferrell just starts talking, it goes downhill.
Yeah, I honestly I couldn't tell you, and I remember the sequel being really bad. Like that was like there was like this relationship between Steve Carell and Kristen Wiig once again, who's great on SNL, and it just seems they don't know what to do with her in the movies other than Bridesmaids. But they have like this really weird relationship. It just a lot of it didn't work in that one. But anyways, I don't remember. That's I just don't remember. I remember not liking it the first time I watched it. So yeah, I would just watch something else. Okay, so Contagion was kind of neat. I watched this really weird movie called Zardoz.
Sean Connery.
That's right.
I've never seen it. Sean Connery in a red diaper, right?
Yeah. And let me tell you, Sean Connery wearing a red diaper in Zardoz is the least unusual thing about that movie. It is out there. So this movie is written and directed by John Boorman, who's just coming off of Deliverance. One of the greatest movies of all time. One of the greatest thrillers of all time is Deliverance. Watch Deliverance. And the next movie he makes is this weird sci-fi movie that I think you have to be on an acid trip to appreciate, because it is just completely out there. If you're into nudity, there is just tons. It's wall to wall naked. It's like it takes place in 21 something, and between now and 21 something, bras have become obsolete. None of the ladies wear a bra. They're just out there flopping all over the place. But
that was true for a while in the 90s, early 2000s.
Sue Ellen Mischke, right? From Seinfeld. She didn't wear. She was the braless wonder.
Yeah. Yes.
We woke up rocket sauce. He's into duty. It is out there though. I seriously. So they're in this. It's kind of like it's trying to be Planet of the Apes thing. They're trying to do a Planet of the Apes thing, where Sean Connery is like the security of the world, where he is given these instructions from what they believe is their god, and their god tells them like go and kill these people, and because they're just savages or whatever. And then the god's like, you know what, don't kill them, tell them to start farming. We need crops. So instead of killing them, make them grow crops, and they would do that. And somehow like they're kind of brainwashed in that, and Sean Connery becomes self-aware, and he says, if I kill my god, I'll be able to see, like I'll have all the answers or whatever. So he goes into this big giant floating head thing that their god comes down in to give him instructions. He hides in there, the thing takes off, and he kills his god. And this floating head thing goes back to where like the real people who run the world are, and he discovers them, and it is so bizarre and weird and makes no sense. But it was on Disney Plus, so check it out. It's not getting my recommendation, but yeah. So then the latest and greatest movie I watched was A Quiet Place Part 2. I'm not going to give any spoilers because maybe people want to see it or whatever, but all I got to say is I watched the first one, the first Quiet Place, and I thought it kind of sucked. The monsters in it look very CG, and it kind of takes me out of it. And there's just so many stupid plot holes in the movie. So then they made the second one, and the first one was successful. So with this one, they just did more of the same. It's more CG monsters and more plot holes that don't make any sense.
I've never seen it. All I heard is it's kind of it's monsters that are attracted to sound, so you can't make any noise.
But none of it makes any sense to me. Like,
all I remember hearing about that is that in the movie, again, I haven't seen it, but in the first one there was some waterfall scene, and everyone was like, "Why don't you just stay by the waterfall?"
Right. If it's safe by the waterfall and the monsters can't hear what you're doing, but just stay there. Why are you out at this farm in the middle of nowhere? It makes no sense. And they never explain like how the monsters are able to differentiate between noise and noise that human makes. Like you'd think like like these monsters would be just going crazy all over the place. Because believe it or not, humans are not the only thing on this planet that makes noise. There's noises all over the place. So why are they would just be going on, like they would be totally confused. Like what's a human noise and what's a non-human noise? You know,
if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, do the monsters still come?
None of it. And the further they go with these movies, just less and less makes sense. I will say, like, they do execute like action scenes very well. Like there's a scene in the opening that is, you know, the monsters are coming to attack this small little town, and the action's just very well done. Like it's all, you know, well paced and that, and like what happens, you're like, oh my goodness, all this that. But the monsters look so fake in it, you know. It's just like, yeah, this is a stupid CG monster. There's nothing really there, you know. Like it just kind of takes me out of it. But other than that, like just like they walk around it's a family that walk around in bare feet, because if their shoes, I guess, hit the ground, that would make too much noise and that would attract the monsters to them. So they walk around in sand on bare feet, and they get to as far as they can go with the sand that they put down, and then they have to walk on the ground. And the mom pauses a little bit, like, I don't know if I want to walk on the ground. Our monster's going to be coming to me if I walk on the ground. I'm not on sand. So she takes a couple of steps on the ground, and like, why would the sand, you know, muffle anything? Like there's still like all leaves and everything on the sand. If you step on a leaf in the sand, it's going to still crunch and make a noise versus the ground. So none of that made any sense. And then they meet up with a guy who's wearing shoes. He wears shoes throughout the whole movie. So how can he walk around with shoes and you're walking around in bare feet? None of this makes any sense. And then they got this deaf girl who, like, that's the thing, is like this family has this advantage because they all know sign language, right? So they got like the superpower. Like nobody can communicate unless they talk, but they can sign language their way out of a situation, right? But it makes no sense that because they have this deaf daughter, and she can't hear when she's making noise. Like she could be walking around and something's dragging behind her, whatever, she would never hear it. She's actually at a huge disadvantage. She could be making noise and not even know it. None of it makes any sense.
I don't care about spoilers. Where did these monsters come from?
Here's the other thing that doesn't make any sense.
Where do these magic monsters come from?
I know you don't care about spoilers, but like, you know, people out there do. But I don't think this is a spoiler. I think it was in the first movie, and if it wasn't in the first movie, it's revealed like within seconds of the second movie. They're from space. Okay. So this is the other thing that doesn't make any sense, and this is kind of a problem with a lot of science fiction things, is that I'm guessing these beings are able to, go from planet to planet. They have the ability to go from their planet to our planet. At least they have that ability. They're on their planet and they have the ability to get onto there. But when they get here, they're stupid. They don't carry weapons with them. They don't have any armor on them. They're just like animals that just kill everybody. And then I could get into a bigger plot hole later on, but I won't. But maybe like other aliens brought them to our planet and dropped them off because they just wanted our population gone or something. But oh my God, here's a blast from the past from Fandango.
Oh,
look at Paul. Got some catching up to do.
Canuck.
Well, we've cut back on our episodes, so it should be. You don't have to go too far back.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
You know what it was earlier in today's podcast? You said Goonies.
Oh, that's right. I did bring up Goonies. The Fandango effect.
That shockwave went up.
Hey,
speaking of Fandango
you
effect,
think if I say the Master System, Mighty Q Dog will show up?
Inevitably. Earlier, a while ago, here going into Goonies, Dick Donner died.
Yes.
Dick Donner, I didn't know this, directed the classic William Shatner episode of The Twilight Zone with the gremlin on the wing, Terror at 30,000 feet.
Get out of here.
He's that old. He was that old.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Fun fact. You know that Shatner was on 2 episodes, right?
Yeah, the one with the little the diner
time machine
thing.
Yeah.
Not time machine, but they had to ask it questions. They're asking it questions, the little devil thing.
Yeah. Wasn't it?
And
weren't they going back in time or something? Oh, maybe I'm mixing up episodes.
They were at a diner, and
been a while.
basically they had to keep asking, and their fate was being decided by this little. What do you call those things?
That's what it was. Yeah, it was forward thinking.
Dispenser thing.
It could predict their future. I knew there was a
I was gonna say like your car is gonna break down or something.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a good episode. Not as good as the Gremlin one, but it was good. Okay.
Monsters. How do they go through the silent void of space and like have any? Do they have eyes?
No, they can't see. They can only hear.
So they went out into space where you can't hear anything, and they're just.
I don't know. Maybe
they find their way to the Earth.
None of it makes any sense.
So they don't breathe.
The only thing I can think of is other aliens brought them to Earth and then just dumped them off. Maybe because like they looked at Earth and said, "Hey, there's a garbage planet. We can just." Can
these things be killed?
Oh yeah, they can be shot.
So instead of dumping them off on another planet, why not just kill them?
I don't know. Or they wanted to get rid of us on Earth so they can take all of our resources.
Speaking of aliens and Earth and stuff, I did just pick up a copy of V.
Oh, I've been wanting to rewatch that.
Which I have not. I don't think I've ever seen the full thing, but I do remember some bits of it when I was a kid. But I'm interested in watching it, so I'm going to watch that soon.
Yeah. Oh, well, report back because I've been. I know the Retro Nonsense guys bring that show up once in a while, and I want to see that. I was too scared to watch it when it was originally on.
It creeped me out. Yeah, there was. I remember like a lizard face coming through a real face.
Yeah,
which probably looks super cheesy now, but
yeah, I remember a lizard tongue coming out and wrapping his tongue around someone's neck. I was like, oh my god, that's way too scary.
That, and I remember somebody licked somebody's boot. If that's this, I want to say it was this. I don't know. That's all I know. But that it's a lot of people really like that miniseries.
Yeah. Well, and they would re-air it or whatever, and I remember on one re-airing I caught some of the episodes. I've never seen the whole thing.
Well, they made like sequels to it.
Yeah, like
they did another miniseries a couple years later.
Like I think what I saw was the final battle. I think that's the
second one.
The second one, and there's a third one, but the second one's called the final battle.
It's just like the final Friday. Jason dies.
That's right. Spoiler alert.
I kind of want to watch the Jason movies again too. Not all.
At least the first two. I think those first two are good.
Well, the 4 is the one with Corey Feldman.
Yes.
That's he's killing me. Yes. Like somebody's getting chopped up in the basement.
Right. Yeah.
And then the 6 when they go all silly with.
Yeah, that one was out there.
That one was fun.
The one I never want to see again is 7. Jason Takes Manhattan. I've seen that.
Jason
once
on
was
a
enough.
boat.
Yeah, that was enough. Yeah, that's right. It was Jason Takes Manhattan.
In Vancouver.
It was Jason in Manhattan, but he's only in Manhattan for 3 seconds. He's mostly on
that one shot at Times Square.
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. Okay, I think we're done. I did have a little bit about James Bond, but we could save it for another time.
Well, did you finish them all?
Yeah, I finished them all. I watched them all from Dr. No to Spectre. And yesterday, actually, we watched the unofficial Bond with the official Bond. There's there was a movie that wasn't made by MGM, but it stars Sean Connery as James Bond.
Really?
Yeah, because
he calls himself James Bond.
Yeah. So the series has this. So basically, what happened was MGM originally wanted to make Thunderball. That was going to be the first James Bond movie. Mm-hmm. And it was based on a book written by Ian Fleming. And then this other author came in and said, hey, wait a minute, that book's not 100% written by Ian Fleming. I put some stuff into there. So then it was in litigation for, a couple of years. and eventually, the studio just said, "Screw it, we want to make a James Bond movie. We'll do Doctor No instead." And Thunderball stayed like while they were figuring it out and all that. Then it came to the point where they said, "Okay, Thunderball, you guys can take this part of Thunderball and you can have that, and then the other writers can take this part of Thunderball and you can have that. You can both use James Bond, but that's the way we're going to split it up." So MGM took their parts and they made Thunderball. And at the time too, the bad guys were it was Ernest Blofeld, who was like the main villain, and his group was called Spectre. Right, that was the name of his group. And in the movies, they couldn't use Spectre, so they called it Smersh, which was like another. It's the same thing, but it was just a different title. Smersh. I got to say it like Sean Connery. Smersh. So, so that's how the series stayed for the longest time, and then Thunderball was that thing, and then in the early '80s, Sean Connery said, "Hey, I want to do James Bond again," and MGM's like, "Well, we can't." It's actually Eon Productions who actually had they were the production company. They're like, "We can't do that. We got Roger Moore. We can't like be making another Bond. We can't be doing two at the same time." So he found the guys who had the rights to the other half of Thunderball, and they just remade Thunderball in 1983, and they called it Never Say Never Again. So now you got this bizarre movie out there, and he's using James Bond, and he's using Spectre, and they got a guy named Blofeld in it, but he's not Ernest Blofeld because they couldn't use Ernest Blofeld. It's just really weird. So, and it was a one and done movie. Sean Connery got his paycheck, and then that was it.
So, if you buy like the MGM James Bond collection, is that movie in there?
Nope. No. I had my Blu-rays. I watched all my Blu-rays, and then it was on one of the streaming services. Never Say Never Again. And I've never seen the whole thing before. This was the first time I watched it from beginning to end. And it's not very good. it's pretty bad. The first half hour is great because James Bond is like doing like he's in this. They're canceling the 007 program, and he's off. Like they're trying to train him for something else, right? So he's at this training facility, and meanwhile, members of Spectre are infiltrating the British government and they're like, "Hey, 007, we should like really just kill off all the 007 agents because we want to do our thing and all this." And so then James Bond catches on to them and that. So he's like fighting them and stuff. And there was a lot of like good comedy in that. Like he's got to do all this, medical tests and everything too, right? Like he'll say something like, "Okay, well, you give us a urine sample." And so he's got to go give his urine sample. And as the movie's going on and that he gets into a fight with this really big guy, right? And they're like fighting and all that, and they're going from room to room. It was actually really well done and choreographed really well. Then they end up in this lab and they're fighting. And then Sean Connery picks up a glass and he throws the contents of the glass in the guy's face. The guy's like, "Ah!" And you're like, "Oh my God, did he hit him with like acid or something like that?" Like he's like really in pain in that. And James Bond looks at the glass, and it was his urine sample that he threw in his face. It's funny stuff like that. It was good. But then it just gets really boring and stupid. Kim Basinger's in it. A really young Kim Basinger plays the love interest in that. Anyways, that was that movie. And then to tie it in to today's James Bond, they got all that stuff figured out, and MGM owns the rights to all of it. So that's why like the latest movie is called Spectre, because they got the rights to Spectre. How many viewers do we still have after all that? No, it's still 5. I'm impressed. You all hung out for that.
Well, they're not listening. They just sign out.
We're just on in the background now. Yeah. Kevin's talking about James Bond again. Anyways, that's it. So yeah, I finished them all. I can recommend James Bond movies to you now, if you want them.
Okay, because I've still only seen the one.
Okay, so
I'm guessing anything you recommend is going to be better than that one.
Yes. So do you want like really cheesy James Bond, or do you want like a serious, legit thriller?
Let me start with cheesy. Cheesy fun is good. Give me something that'll be like, well, all right, that was just fun.
I would go with The Spy Who Loved Me. That was
The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
Which James Bond is that?
So you know what? I'm going to recommend two. I'm going to recommend Goldfinger and The Spy Who Loved Me.
Are they
Go with
both
those two.
Sean Connery's?
Goldfinger is with Sean Connery, and The Spy Who Loved Me is with Roger Moore.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're both just fun movies.
And just set the record straight. There's no order. Doesn't really matter.
No. So
Okay.
it was a series of movies, right? Like they were just series.
Just
you could watch them in
adventure.
Right, exactly. You can watch them in any order. There was like a loose thread, between some of the movies, just very loose, where you might okay, if I saw the previous movie, that would make a little more sense or whatever. But for those two movies, you don't need to see anything.
Okay.
They're not tied to anything at all.
Goldfinger, and what else?
The Spy Who Loved Me.
The Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah. Okay, so the Austin Power name parodies. The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Oh, yeah.
Remember The Spy Who Loved Me and Goldfinger.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. You're right.
Okay,
I didn't even think of that.
Easy to remember.
Yeah. There you go. And then now the movies are total it's a serial, from Casino Royale to now, all the Daniel Craig ones, if you watch them out of order, you're going to be completely lost.
Okay.
But that's how they make movies now. It's just you had to have seen the previous one. Like that's how all the Marvel
universe.
Yep. That's how everything is. Marvel, DC, you got to see them all in order. Bourne Identity.
Oh.
Speaking
of which, it just reminded me I was watching those Marvel movies.
How far did you get? Oh, you mean
4.
Oh, you still haven't progressed.
I was watching.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Marvel movies. So if I know my MCU the way I think I do, that's what you call phase 1, right? They call them phases.
Mm-hmm. You should still be in it.
Phase 1. Yeah, I'm on phase 1.
Right. Yeah. The phases end with the Avengers movies. All the build up, and then Avengers, and then you start with phase 2.
Oh, so an Avengers movie is a
bookend
phase. Okay.
Yep.
That helps.
Yep.
Oh, then I have, I believe, 2 more movies to finish phase 1. Because it's Captain America.
Yeah.
And then there's the Avengers.
Oh, there you go. See, you only got 2 movies, and you got a whole phase in you.
I got a whole phase, and it only took me 7 months.
And you better get on it because you're going to forget what happened in those first movies, and then you're going to be like, "Oh,
I remember everything. I remember Iron Man fights another Iron Man, and then Iron Man 2 fights a bunch of Iron Mans."
Yeah, you won't be lost.
No, the Hulk. The Hulk fights another Hulk.
The Abominable Hulk.
Iron Man 2. What was the next one? Was Thor the next one?
Yeah, Thor should have been in there. Yep.
Thor fights another Thor guy. Right? He fights a robot Thor.
It was a big Thor.
The big machine shoots lasers.
Yeah.
How did they beat that? Did he stop that thing?
Yeah, he stopped it.
What did he do?
Of course he stopped. I don't remember.
Threw a hammer at it?
I didn't like that one. That one wasn't my favorite. I liked the second one. That was my jam.
The next one's Captain America, and he's going to fight another Captain America.
Okay.
He fights the Red Skull, doesn't he?
I'm not going to. The Red Skull's in it.
Red Skull's in it.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I am interested in that because still one of my favorite arcade beat 'em ups is Captain America and the Avengers.
Stanley Tucci's in it. Stanley Tucci's good and everything.
Who?
Come on, Stanley Tucci.
Who?
Everybody knows Stanley Tucci. Okay, let's wrap this up because I'm smelling food upstairs. And
Sarah started without you.
She might have. Oh, your grub warming in the oven. Sorry, I couldn't wait. It's your fault.
Look at us. We're going 2 hours.
I know. Okay, follow us on Twitter. At retro_Fandango. Remember that we are better than STC Pod. You haven't seen STC Pod, I think it's rest in peace. I think our next episode, we are going to have a funeral for STC
is
Pod.
RIP.
Yep, we're going to have a funeral for that show. I think it is officially done. We have we started before them, and we finished. We were first on board and last off the plane. First on the plane, last off. And we're still going. We're still going. Apparently. We've lost everybody else. We lost all our passengers, but we're still going.
The flaming wreck is still in motion.
That's right. Come and see the train wreck. Get a boner with Retro Fandango, and don't forget to check out our Discord channel. If you want to hear Duke's thoughts on the latest episode, go check it out. And I'm going to get the audio out for this episode and the last episode next week, if you're wondering what happened to the audio. I'm on vacation right now, and I forgot to bring my laptop home, and that has the editing software on it. So that's why you haven't heard the audio. If you're an audio person, if you're in that.
And nobody complained.
No, not a single one. No one noticed. No one complained. I think it's the not having any STC pod. If that doesn't happen, then they just don't. They just think a month hasn't gone by.
Right.
Look at that, survival of the fittest.
Maybe people are just doing stuff. All the footage I see, nobody's wearing masks or anything in the U.S. anymore.
Yeah, well, it's
out there just rubbing elbows again.
Well, it's getting lax here as well. I think we're in our phase 3 or stage 3 or whatever, and everything's open now. Mm-hmm. You just have to wear a mask, and a lot of places still ask you to use the hand sanitizer when you get into the place. But Sarah and we got our vaccines, so we feel like as if we're good to go. But then you look at the UK, and everybody there was vaccinated. They opened everything up, and now they're in trouble with the variant. So yeah. I think just right now it's because everybody's outside. It's summer and it's nice, and the virus just doesn't travel as fast as when everybody's in a building and it's all contained. I think that's just what's going on.
I'm not dropping my guard yet because those Olympics are starting up, and there's a bunch of people coming into the country.
I've heard that there's no one in the stands. No one's allowed in the stands.
Yeah, there's all sorts. They're complaining about doing it. They're complaining about how they have to do it. It's just cancel the stupid thing. But now there's already people coming. There's already people like disappearing. People from other countries come in. They're like, "Whoop! All right, I'm out of my country. I'm going to live in Japan now." Taking off, and you don't know who's doing what. And they got a whole system of, well, if you don't want to quarantine because it interferes with your training, then you just sign this paper and say, I don't need to quarantine, and it's up to you. You can choose.
So every time the Olympics comes up and like Canada gets all excited, like, oh, we got to get the Olympics in Toronto. We got to get it here. I don't want that stupid thing here. Because
trouble.
Well, I think it was John Oliver. I think I was watching where they were saying that if Japan wanted to cancel the Olympics, they waived that right when they got the Olympics in. Like it's up to the Olympic Committee to decide whether or not it goes on. Japan doesn't even have a say in it. Which, I mean, maybe if they set up some tanks and told them to go away, but there's just but the Olympic Committee doesn't care because there's so much money on the line.
There's too much money involved. Yeah,
ridiculous. Anyways, enough. We got to get out of here. I got to go eat. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Sarka Sim. Thank you, Rocket Sauce.
We got Paul.
Paul. Old School.
Steven was here.
We got the Illuminati.
The Illuminati.
How do you say that? The Llama.
Lamamiento.
Lamamiento.
Yamamiento?
Is that 2 I's or 2 L's?
I don't know. Lamamiento.
I think it's Llama.
Llama
Anyways.
Ding Dong.
That was it. That was all. That was enough. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.